Well, hello, awesomes. How are we doing today? Um, Welcome to week 7, or almost midweek, I guess, week 7 now. But as I had kind of said in my message the other day, the announcement or I think Moodle calls them course messages. This week, I put a lot in the overview this week to have us think about as we make this transition into writing in our field. So I gave a little bit more than I guess, typed words to you that I would maybe normally give like in a video, to kind of get us thinking about writing in our field and kind of how the title to this project speaks to. We're actually going to look at the writing that takes place in our field. And those are going to be our points of analysis. So you think about this is a nice transition from our rhetorical analysis paper where we chose an article, right, from one of the publications, or we found an article on our own. And what we did was we kind of really dove into very specifically looking at the rhetorical context, right? We looked at ethos, pathos, logos. We also looked at the rhetorical situation. We looked at logical fallacies, and analyze we summarize, we analyze the entire artifact itself. So now we're going to transition, kind of take some of those skills that we learned in the rhetorical analysis project and kind of use them here to kind of begin to analyze some artifacts of writing. We also call these, writing artifacts might be an article. And as maybe you've seen already, some of the examples, right, could be a memo. If you've looked at some of the examples too, you may find there's maybe like a lab report. There could be a flyer. It could be anything, something that the career that you've chosen, that career path that you're looking into right now, within that field, within that discipline, within that career. We'll find how do they communicate in writing and what forms do they take, like what genres. Is it the genre of the memo? Is it the genre of the lab report? Is it the genre of the flyer, right? Is a particular career that you're going down use something very regularly in which to communicate with other people? And if so, what are those artifacts? And we're going to focus in on one or two. And at the same time, we want to look at in our field, we want to find what are some things that people are talking about? What are some controversies? What are maybe some debates, perhaps that take place in your career, or they're taking place in your career? So, for example, if you're going into, let's say, nursing, or you're going into psychology, if we look at what is everybody kind of talking about right now, what are some points of discussion, right? So if you're in the medical field, right, if you're going to be a doctor, then, there might be some relevant information right now of how to treat coronavirus, or what to do when someone presents with certain symptoms. It wouldn't have to necessarily be coronavirus related, but it could be any type of potential disease, or some sort of irregularity, something that needs to be treated, something that requires a diagnosis, and then a corresponding treatment plan. That could be a point of controversy. That could be a point of discussion or conversation. So we're looking at kind of those two things this week, or you're looking at those two things in this week, and that I'll be looking at over the weekend. So as you're locating and finding those, I encourage you to use the Oakland library system and take advantage of some of those databases. I'll look at some of those databases too this week, and share some of that information with you. But I'd like you to kind of dive in a little bit, see what you can find. And as you're reading, they want you to read Essay 2 book. It's listed here also. Look at some of the Project 2 samples. There's quite a few. Pick out one or two that sounds interesting to you based on the discipline, right, or the field or the area. And I also posted some sample communication artifacts. Those are the memos and different things like that I was talking about. And so for this weekend, you'll find post a few of those, and then explain those using the instructions that I put there for you for this week. So that kind of wraps up our overview. So in my remaining seconds here, let's just look at this week's module real quick. And so here I posted the writing in your field again. And there's the Essay 2 book, which I'll be back to talk to you more about that. And of course, I've got the examples and samples there for each one of those for you to take a look at. All right, guys, hope you're having a great week. I'll be back with you shortly, and we'll